What's up everyone, it's Mark from Silence Tech. I hope you're all keeping well. Today's video is going to be all about gaming monitors. When building a new PC, it's easy to overlook your display, so I'm going to discuss the best refresh rate to choose, what panel type you should pick up out of VA, TN and IPS, plus I will give my opinions on response times, FreeSync compared to G-Sync, and lastly of course the best resolution to play games on. Personally, over the last year I've been lucky enough to game on this Lenovo Y27GQ-25, a 1440p 240Hz G-Sync monitor. However, to really use it to its true potential I must run a lot of my games on low graphical settings, even with an RTX 3080. While 240Hz is an amazing sight to behold, not everyone wants to play games on low settings, and I've concluded that 144Hz is still the best overall choice regardless of your budget, since you can get a nice trade-off between smoothness and in-game graphical settings. ViewSonic very kindly sent out their ELITE XG270QC, a sub $500 VA 165Hz 1440p monitor with AMD FreeSync Premium Pro. Jumping down from 240Hz to this has been an easy adjustment, to be honest. Sure, I can notice it's not as smooth while frantically panning around in FPS games, and the VA panel type does show some ghosting issues due to its slower grey to grey pixel response times, but upping my in-game settings has really made some single player games a lot more enjoyable on this monitor over my 240Hz display. I must confess I've been holding off on featuring this monitor on my channel because I've wanted to test FreeSync Premium Pro with one of AMD's newest GPUs like the 6800 XT. Sadly I haven't managed to get hold of one yet due to low stock. Regardless, I feel FreeSync has a serious advantage compared to G-Sync, since not only are FreeSync monitors cheaper, but a lot of them, like this one, are G-Sync compatible displays. If you're on a budget and want a high refresh rate monitor that uses adaptive sync technology, FreeSync in my opinion is probably the way to go. AMD does not charge royalties or licensing costs, meaning FreeSync is available in a wider range of monitors from entry level to high end displays. Using this ViewSonic monitor with an Nvidia card has been flawless so far. Capping my FPS to 161 in the Nvidia control panel has made every game super smooth. Letting your FPS go above your monitor's refresh rate will cause adaptive sync to turn off completely. Capping your FPS like this is the only way to ensure adaptive sync stays on all the time. Plus, if your FPS is constantly causing G-Sync or FreeSync to turn on and off by going up and down, you may notice some stuttering. One topic about monitors that will never die regarding gaming is which panel type you should get. TN is the most commonly available panel type. They are cheap to develop and manufacture, but make no mistake about it, even in 2020 they offer the best clarity when panning or moving around in first person games. With response times as low as 0.5 milliseconds and refresh rates as high as 360Hz at 1080p, TN panels are simply the best right now for competitive gaming. Unfortunately, they have their drawbacks. If you use your monitor for any other reason apart from gaming, you may find the slightly washed out colours a bit of a letdown. Viewing angles are also not the best, but I've never listened to anyone arguing that point, since when does anyone sit in front of their monitor at a 100-degree angle? Moving on to VA panels, they provide a much greater contrast, which is ideal for HDR gaming. ViewSonic's XG270QC meets the VESA display HDR 400 standard. In fact, it tops out at 550 nits. With 139% of the sRGB spectrum and a delta E of 0.3, it looks stunning and games will look exactly how they were intended. IPS panels are greatly preferred by video editors and Photoshop professionals due to how they provide more accurate colours and far better viewing angles, around 178 degrees horizontal and vertical. Nowadays their response times have come down dramatically, making them my ideal choice. Even though TN in my opinion is the best for competitive gaming, they are hard to recommend to anyone who uses their monitor for any other reason, such as work related tasks. IPS is the best middle ground, but they will always be slightly slower and harder for manufacturers to mass produce with high refresh rates. Now let's talk about resolution. Even with consoles finally being able to achieve 4K 60fps, I would still recommend 1440p for PC gamers. Our displays are much smaller than their massive 55-inch TVs. Plus, having a high FPS in-game can dramatically reduce input lag, giving you a huge advantage. You will never see any esport pros gaming competitively at 4K, heck they rarely use 1440p. FPS is king, and honestly playing any competitive FPS game at 4K 60fps FPS on PC is going to put you at a huge disadvantage. Yes, there are high refresh rate 4K displays, but imagine how much FPS you would get at a lower resolution. Also, hitting a high FPS in 4K is not always possible in some of the more demanding titles on the market. Lastly, response times. For competitive gaming, they are especially important. The way of measuring isn't agreed upon by manufacturers in terms of an LCD panel. Normally it's how fast a pixel can go from grey to grey. It's not how fast an action can show up on screen, like most people seem to believe even today. A monitor or TV with a slow response time will have a blurring effect since each individual pixel can't keep up, making it hard to see what's going on around you in fast-paced first-person games, commonly referred to as ghosting. I really believe for competitive gaming you should always look for a monitor with a 1 millisecond response time. This ViewSonic XG270QC has a 1 millisecond MPRT response time. Please do not confuse this with a true 1 millisecond, it's completely different. The VA panel inside this monitor uses strobing to turn the backlight on and off extremely fast, and after testing it out in Rainbow Six Siege I can confirm it's nowhere near as clear compared to my trusty TN. Actual response times are rated to 3 milliseconds, but honestly it feels even slower than that. I have never found a VA panel type to truly satisfy me yet, and I would put the panel type even behind IPS regarding how well it can produce a clear image when looking around in FPS games. Don't get me wrong, it's a great monitor overall, but it isn't one I would personally recommend to competitive gamers. Anyway everyone, rounding off, there are so many monitors available right now, it's important you match one with your PC correctly. I've tried to list all of the key points on what makes a great gaming monitor so you can choose one for yourself. 1440p is a sweet spot, especially when paired with 144Hz refresh rate. FreeSync is cheaper, but G-Sync tends to operate at a wider range. TN if you're a hardcore gamer, IPS if you need a display for work-related tasks as well. Plus, any hardcore gamer will ideally want a response time of around 1 millisecond. That's it, as simple as that. I really hope you've enjoyed this week's video. My name's Mark from Silence Tech. I shall see you all very soon, guys. Goodbye.